Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today, taking a look back at the Samsung Galaxy S21.
The S21, huh?
Yep, launched way back in early 2021. We're going to be using some great info from RechargeMyTopup.com
Oh, cool.
to see if this phone still holds up in 2025. Is it still worth a look?
It's going to be interesting to see how those specs they touted back then actually, translate today.
Right. Like on paper, it was a beast, but things change so fast, right?
Oh, absolutely. Technology, it's just constantly evolving.
So let's jump in. The S21 came in a bunch of those cool colors, phantom gray, violet, pink, white, and I got that sleek glass back.
Yeah, that glass back was a pretty big deal back then, not just for looks.
Right.
It opened up a whole bunch of possibilities like wireless charging,
Oh, yeah.
which wasn't nearly as common then as it is now.
Yeah, it was still kind of new and exciting.
Definitely. And that in-display fingerprint scanner, they'd integrate that thanks to the glass back, too.
Ah, futuristic. Speaking of futuristic, those phantom colors, did those names actually mean anything special?
Well, not really. They were trying to market them as sophisticated and modern, play on that mystery vibe.
Right, right.
But at the end of the day, it was all about choices, you know, appealing to different tastes. People want to express themselves through their tech, right?
For sure. Okay, so the S21 was stylish, it was functional. Let's talk camera. Triple camera setup, a 64 MP main lens, a 12 MP ultra wide, and a 64 MP telephoto.
Wow.
And get this, 8K video recording.
8K, back then, that was just
Yeah.
mind-blowing. It was practically unheard of on a smartphone.
Really changed the game for smartphone photography, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You could capture so much detail, like almost professional level.
So do you think back then the S21 could have actually replaced like a dedicated point-and-shoot camera for most people?
For a lot of people, yeah, I think so. The versatility you got with those three lenses, wide landscapes with the ultra-wide, close-ups with the telephoto, plus that high-res video,
Right.
I think it really blurred the lines between what you could do with a smartphone and a professional camera.
It had to be tempting to just ditch the extra camera.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, let's get under the hood. The S21 had a Snapdragon 888 processor and 8 GB of RAM. Was that top of the line back in 2021?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The 888 was the flagship chip, the best you could get in an Android phone at the time.
Wow.
And 8 GB of RAM. You could have tons of apps open, switching between them like instantly.
Yeah.
No lag. It was a serious multitasking machine.
Okay, so it was a powerhouse. But what about the battery life? All that power, it must drain the battery pretty fast.
Well, the S21 had a 4,000 milliamp battery, which was considered pretty good back then. It got most people through a full day,
Yeah.
with moderate use.
Right, right.
And if you needed a quick boost, there was fast charging through USB-C.
Speaking of charging, what about wireless charging? Was that standard on the S21?
It was. Wireless charging was definitely gaining popularity back then.
Yeah.
And Samsung was all over that trend. Just plop your phone on a pad. No more messing with cables.
Once you go wireless, it's hard to go back.
Oh, I know.
So we got stylish design, great camera, tons of power, convenient charging. It's shaping up well so far.
Yeah.
But what about the software? What was the experience like?
Well, the S21 launched with Android 11 and Samsung's One UI 3.1. That was a big step forward, I think, in terms of usability and customization.
One UI. We still hear a lot about that even now.
Right.
What made it so special back then?
Well, Samsung really focused on making it easy to use, very intuitive,
Yeah.
and you could really personalize it. There was a system-wide dark mode, always on display, so you could see notifications without unlocking. And,
Oh, right.
and edge panels, you could get quick access to your favorite apps and contacts.
Edge panels.
Well-
How did those work exactly?
So imagine swiping from the edge of your screen,
Okay. Yeah.
and you get this customizable panel that pops up. You could put app shortcuts there, contacts, tools, even news feeds.
So it was all about making the phone work for you.
Exactly. Your phone, your way.
Love it. Okay, I gotta ask about the gaming features. The S21 had this game booster and a game launcher. Were those actually useful or just kind of gimmicky?
Oh, they were definitely useful.
Right.
Game Booster optimized performance, so games ran smoother, less lag.
Oh, okay.
And Game Launcher was like a hub for all your games.
Yeah.
It kept them organized, helped you find new ones, and even blocked those pesky notifications.
So you wouldn't get interrupted mid-game.
Exactly. No distractions allowed.
Nice. All right, I know we've covered a lot, but before we move on, I want to touch on a few more things. The S21 had Bixby, a secure folder, and all those connectivity options like NFC, Bluetooth 5.0, Wi-Fi 6. Were those pretty standard for a flagship back then?
Yeah, they were becoming more and more common. Bixby, that was Samsung's answer to Siri and Google Assistant.
Right.
Secure Folder lets you create a password-protected space on your phone, for sensitive stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And all those connectivity options. Well, you had to have the latest and greatest, right? Fast data, smooth audio, and rock-solid internet.
Makes sense. Okay, last thing before we really dig into that display. Storage options. What did the S21 offer?
It came in 128 GB, 256 GB, and 512 GB. And there was a micro SD card slot.
Ah, so you could expand if you needed to?
Yep, up to a whopping 1 TB. Huge back then.
You really wouldn't have to worry about running out of space.
No, not.
So even the base model, probably enough for most people. But if you were a power user or, taking tons of photos and videos,
Yeah.
you could easily expand. That's smart.
Yeah, very smart.
Okay, now let's talk about that gorgeous display.
Ah, yes, the display. That was really something. It was a 6.2-inch AMOLED screen, 120 hertz refresh rate.
Whoa! Even today, that's pretty high-end.
Yeah, even by today's standards, it was impressive.
Now, refresh rate, I know that's super important for gaming.
Oh, yeah.
But for, the average person, what difference does 120 hertz really make?
Okay, so imagine this. Higher refresh rate means the screen updates more often every second.
Okay.
Makes everything look super smooth.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you're scrolling or playing games.
Gotcha.
Once you've experienced 120 hertz, it's hard to go back.
Yeah, I bet. It's one of those things you don't know you need till you have it. What about color accuracy? Brightness? Was the S21's display any good in those areas?
Oh, it excelled. It used a dynamic AMOLED 2X panel. Top of the line for Samsung back then.
Oh, wow.
Vibrant colors, deep blacks, excellent brightness. You could see it even in direct sunlight.
Now, you mentioned earlier it had that HDR10 plus certification. What does that even mean?
Okay, so HDR10 plus LEC, standard for high dynamic range. Basically, wider range of colors and contrast.
Okay.
Makes everything look more realistic, immersive. You see more detail, like in shadows and highlights.
Oh, so it's like you're really there.
Exactly, like you're looking at the real thing.
Okay, cool. So the S21 had an amazing display, great for watching videos, playing games, everything. But let's go back to that 8K video recording for a sec. That had to be a real battery hog, right?
Well, 8K is definitely demanding. But Samsung optimized the software and hardware pretty well.
Okay.
Minimized that battery drain. Plus, remember, the F21 had that 4,000 mAh battery. Pretty good size.
Right.
Most people could shoot a decent amount of 8K footage without worrying too much.
That's good to know. You mentioned earlier the S21 also had fast charging. How fast are we talking?
25W.
Yeah.
So you could go from 0 to 50% in about half an hour.
That's not bad.
Not the absolute fastest back then, but definitely convenient.
Definitely. Okay, let's shift gears to software again. We know the S21 ran Android 11 with Samsung's One UI.
Yep.
But how did One UI stack up against other Android interfaces back then?
It was well received overall. People liked that it was clean, intuitive, and very customizable.
You keep mentioning customization. I'm curious, what could you actually personalize on the S21?
Oh, a ton of stuff. Themes, wallpapers, fonts, app icons, home screen layout, app drawer. Even the whole color palette of the interface.
Wow, so you could really make it your own.
Oh, absolutely.
But were there any, functional benefits to those customization options?
For sure. One UI was designed to help you use your phone more efficiently.
Okay.
For example, you could set up custom edge panels, with shortcuts to your favorite apps, contacts, just a quick swipe.
Right.
And things like dark mode. Not just for looks, it also reduced eye strain and saved battery.
Oh, that's smart.
Right.
Now, you mentioned Bixby before. How did it compare to Siri and Google Assistant back then?
Well, it had some good points. Like, it was pretty good at controlling Samsung's own apps and devices.
Yeah.
And Bixby Vision, that was unique. You could point your camera at something and it would identify it.
Cool.
But overall, it wasn't quite as popular or capable as Siri or Google Assistant.
So it was more of a niche thing for Samsung fans.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's circle back to gaming for a minute. Game Booster, Game Launcher. They sounded cool on paper, but did they actually make a difference in gameplay?
Oh, yeah. Game Booster helped. It really optimized performance.
Yeah.
Smoother gameplay, less lag.
Nice.
And Game Launcher, it gave you this dedicated space for your games, no distractions. You could even lock the navigation button so you wouldn't accidentally exit a game.
Oh, that's a lifesaver. So Samsung was definitely thinking about mobile
Oh,
gamers.
well, cool.
Okay, last thing before we move on. How tough was the S21? How did it handle the bumps and bruises of everyday life?
It was pretty durable.
Yeah.
IP68 rating, so dust resistant and could handle a dunk in water.
Okay.
It also had a sturdy aluminum frame and Gorilla Glass Victus. Toughest glass on smartphones back then.
So pretty much built to last. Okay, we've talked about all the good stuff. Were there any areas where the S21 kind of fell short?
There were a few minor things.
Yeah.
Some people weren't thrilled with the battery life,
Yeah.
especially if they were, really pushing the phone.
Yeah.
And the camera, while excellent, it wasn't the absolute best out there. There were a few other flagships that year that edged it out slightly.
So not perfect, but still a really impressive phone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But the big question is, how does it hold up against all the newer models that have come out since then?
That's the real test, isn't it?
We'll find out after a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back.
And the big question is still out there. How does a phone like the Galaxy S21 from early 2021, how does it hold up against all the newer phones, all the shiny new stuff that's come out since then?
Yeah, it's a good question. It really shows how good the S21 was that we're even asking that question. It's still a solid phone.
But things have moved on, haven't they?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Technology never stands still.
So where have we seen the biggest changes, since the S21 came out?
Well, one of the big ones is processing power. Newer phones, they have chips that just blow the Snapdragon 888 out of the water. Faster, more efficient.
Okay, so more power. Got it. What about camera tech? Any big leaps there? Oh, yeah, big time. Camera sensors are getting better all the time, higher megapixels, better low-light performance, and the AI stuff for things like portrait mode and night shots. It's just gotten so much more advanced.
But you were saying earlier that megapixels aren't the whole story. So how does the S21's camera actually compare, image quality-wise?
The S21 can still take really great pictures and videos,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you've got good lighting. But the newer phones that might give you a bit more detail, better dynamic range, and definitely better low-light performance. And their software, it's just, it's more sophisticated now.
So those little improvements, they really add up.
Exactly. It's not that the S21 takes bad pictures. It's just that, well, the newer phones, they've raised the bar.
They always do. So we've got faster processors, better cameras. What else has changed in the smartphone world since the S21?
Well, displays have gotten even better, too. Higher refresh rates are more common now, even on mid-range phones. And batteries, they're lasting longer, charging faster.
It sounds like most of the changes have been, refining things rather
Yeah.
than huge leaps forward.
I think that's fair to say. Smartphones, they've kind of matured.
Yeah.
It's harder to make those giant leaps forward we used to see. But even those small improvements, they make a difference.
They do. They do. Okay, so for someone who's thinking about buying a new phone today, is the S21 still worth considering?
It really depends. What are their priorities? What's their budget? The S21 is probably a lot more affordable now than it was back in 2021.
True.
If someone wants a really solid phone with a great display, good performance, decent camera, and they're not worried about having the absolute latest tech, then yeah, the S21 could be a great option, especially for the price.
It's about finding that balance, isn't it? Features, performance, price.
Exactly. You have to weigh the pros and cons. Do you want a proven phone at a good price, or do you need all the latest bells and whistles?
There's no right or wrong answer, is there?
Nope, not at all. It's about finding the phone that's right for you, your needs, your budget.
That's great advice. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the Galaxy S21. Hopefully everyone listening found it helpful. And remember, whether you're looking at the latest flagship or something a bit older, the important thing is to do your research.
Exactly.
Compare specs, read reviews, figure out what works best for you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Samsung Galaxy S21. We'll catch you next time.